Alright, and welcome to another Dissenter News for September 16th, 2019. And we are going to start with an article from Breitbart. As Tulsi Gabbard says to Trump, "We are not your prostitutes, you are not our pimp." No, but he is your God Emperor, so bend the knee. Representative Tulsi Gabbard launched a profane attack on President Donald Trump's foreign policy on Monday evening, denouncing the idea of defending Saudi Arabia. "We're not your prostitutes, we're not your pimp." So this is her rock-solid anti-war stance, which most of us actually pretty much like. Okay, she was responding to President Trump's comments about a potential U.S. response to a recent attack by the, I'm not even going to try and pronounce that, rebels on oil fields in Saudi Arabia that threatened global oil supplies and was the security of a key American ally. She launched a Twitter video basically telling the truth about, Saudi Arabian princes, although Trump says we're locked and loaded, but are waiting to hear from the kingdom as to who they believe was the cause of the attack and under what terms we would proceed. Now, I'm personally of mixed feelings on this because, for those of you who don't know, the Saudis just went under a massive regime change under their new anti-corruption laws. They have arrested members of the royal family under these new rules of corruption, and basically what happened is Trump said, "I'm not going to wheel and deal with Saudi Arabia unless we get rid of the nobles who tried to interfere with our elections, a la the Clinton Foundation." So there is some context behind this as to why Trump is more amenable to Saudi Arabia today. But let's get to the tweet. "Real Donald Trump, despicable, offering to place our military assets under the command of a foreign country is a disgrace and a betrayal of my patriotic brothers and sisters in uniform and to our Constitution. We are not your prostitutes. You are not our pimp."
Yesterday, President Trump offered to place our military, my brothers and sisters in uniform, under the command of Prince Mohammed bin Salman, the dictator of the Islamist Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Trump said we are locked and loaded, but are waiting to hear from the kingdom as to who they believe was the cause of this attack and under what terms we would proceed. Now, Mr. President, as you know, I have never engaged in hateful rhetoric against you or your family, and I never will. But you're offering our military assets to the dictator of Saudi Arabia to use as he sees fit is a betrayal of my brothers and sisters in uniform who are ready to give our lives for our country, not for the Islamist dictator of Saudi Arabia. And for you to think that you can pimp out our proud servicemen and women to the Prince of Saudi Arabia is disgraceful. And it once again shows that you are unfit to serve as our commander-in-chief. As a member of Congress and as a soldier, I and all of my brothers and sisters in uniform have taken an oath to protect and defend the American people and the Constitution of the United States of America. There is nothing in our Constitution that gives you the power to go to war without the express consent of Congress. What to speak of giving you the power to offer our military to a foreign power like the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia to use as they wish. President Trump, your words and actions are a betrayal of my brothers and sisters in uniform, the American people, and our Constitution. My fellow service members and I, we are not your prostitutes. You are not our pimp.
Yeah, I did not see anywhere of Trump saying that he would be giving express power and control of the armed forces to a Saudi Arabian prince. I think he was saying, as we would do with any ally, which unfortunately Saudi Arabia is an ally, unfortunately. I do not approve of this, but it is but it is our current state of affairs. So, yeah, under those regular terms and conditions, having our armed forces assist Saudi Arabia as per the usual arrangement is not quote unquote pimping out. We're not, even if Trump were to act on this on behalf of Saudi Arabia, he would not be giving absolute control to the Saudi Arabian prince. That is, I just, I like her attitude. I like that she's standing up to war hawkism. That's great. But she's completely painting this in a light that is disingenuous. So, as always, we're going to look at the comments, see what the people say. Da-da-dum. William J. Fleming says, "We are not your prostitutes, you are not our pimp. A fact for which President Trump is no doubt very grateful. I noticed that she didn't say, 'We are not prostitutes, but rather we are not your prostitutes. Whose prostitute are you, I wonder?'" Real Spartacus Rhino. "So nice to see another woman thinking critically, analyzing issues, and avoiding name-calling or estrogen arguing." Yep. Ed says, "She's a dummy, I wasn't sure, but now there is no doubt." Quintus says, "Fucking cunt. I mean this for all intents and purposes. Fuck Saudi Arabia, but I trust my president, and the bitch is a big fucking cunt." Wow. Ernie M. says, "Gabbard should be court-martialed for her comments. I am tired of her hiding behind her military status, on one hand playing it up for advantage, and then, when convenient for her campaigning strategy, disrespecting the military code she's supposed to abide by." Phil McCracken says, "She speaks for the majority." Oh, because she speaks for the majority. Right, she couldn't even keep herself in the debates of the traveling circus. Phil. Tulsi Gabbard is the Bernie of 2020. She is Bernie 2.0. Tulsi should be on that stage, bro. She should be on there. She is popular, but the DNC hasn't learned their lesson. Thank God they're being stupid. It means it'll pave an easier victory for Trump in 2020. But I digress. Trump has already made good military decisions, and his choice to not strike at the last go-around gave me more faith in him. He will make a good call because he has a conscience. He has a conscience, all while having a driven attitude. He is able to think with his head and act with his heart. God bless America. Real shit with a hillbilly twist. Phil McCracken. Oh, he signed off on his own comment with his name. Teresa Glessner says, "She's right. They're the cabal's prostitutes." Oh, guys. Oh, goodness. Jack Blackthorne. Gabbard was responding to President Trump's statements about a potential U.S. response to a recent attack by blank rebels on oil fields in Saudi Arabia that threatened global oil supplies and the security of Bold, a key American ally. I love Dissenter. They take no shit. Kurtz. Article 88 seems appropriate. Calling the commander-in-chief a pimp seems contemptuous to me. Or she could always resign her commission. Well played. As always, this is Dissenter, and we are reviewing the comments of the dissenters of the internet. Next article we have is from Fox News, and California adds Iowa to travel ban over refusal to fund gender transitions. Okay, a state is banning travel to another state over gender transitions. I hope to God that I am mistaken on that. California announced last week that it has added Iowa to the list of states on its ever expanding travel ban list because of that state's new prohibition against funding gender transition surgeries under Medicaid. Oh my god. Oh my god. The announcement by State Attorney General Xavier Becerra, Xavier B is what we'll call him, means that as of October 4th, California will no longer offer taxpayer-funded trips to Iowa. Oh, thank God, it's just taxpayer-funded trips. Okay, so politicians, celebrities, and other bullshit will not be flying to Iowa for any public employee or student at a state-run university. Okay, so basically those on the government teat will not be going to Iowa. Um, who exactly does this hurt? I mean, are you? So Iowa can still pay for trips to California. Just to be clear, they cannot stop Iowa from funding trips to California. They can't stop that. So what they're basically saying is no one from our state, from California, will be able to travel to Iowa on business. You're just hurting California. But hey, California's pretty fucked at the moment, so let's let's go on. Becerra's authority came from a 2016 California law signed by then Governor Jerry Brown that bars state-funded travel to other states that undercut LGBT rights. The blacklist already included Alabama, Kentucky, North Carolina, Texas. Oh, thank God. Oh, thank God. So people cannot ride for free from California to Texas, Oklahoma, and Mississippi. Whew. Guys, seriously, every state should try and get on this list. Wear it as a badge of fucking honor. Wear it as a badge of honor. Conservatives have called the law ineffective, inconveniencing, and possibly unconstitutional and hypocritical. The state sports teams have turned to private funding to get around the restrictions, according to the Los Angeles Times. Wow. Wow. The Iowa legislature has reversed course on what was settled law under the Iowa Civil Rights Act, repealing protections for those seeking gender-affirming health care. The lawyer says in a statement, California has taken an unambiguous stand against discrimination and government actions that would enable it. Yes, but is gender reassignment surgery a right? Really? Is this really something we're gonna? Is this a hill we're gonna die on? We want to give men the right to cut their balls off and women the right to hack off their tits. Okay, so the brouhaha began after the Iowa Supreme Court ruled in March that taxpayers could be forced to pay for gender reassignment surgery. Republican Governor Kim Reynolds signed a law effectively overriding that ruling 2 months later. Oh, thank God. Okay, so the Supreme Court said there's nothing we can do to stop this, and the Republican governor said, the people have voted, and yes, we can. So Iowa says we no longer have to pay for your reassignment bullshit. It is not a right. We are ending this nonsense. And by the way, it doesn't really do anything. The suicide rate before and after surgery stays exactly the same. These people don't get any help that they need. They're not. It's not a fix-all solution. Telling someone that because they can't get reassignment surgery is not tantamount to saying you're not allowed to be a human being. That. In fact, all of the data goes counter to that. All right. The Health and Human Services Department in May angered progressive advocates with rules that both allowed doctors to not perform certain operations and stated that, quote, gender identity was not protected under sex discrimination law in healthcare. Well, thank God. But, as always, we go to the comments section of the internet. Smooth Operator 79 says, am I the only one that wishes North Korea followed through on their threat to nuke the West Coast? No. No, you're not, sir. Bruce says, I'm going to start denying transactions on eBay from people who live in California who try to buy my stuff. Ursus Americanus, dude, we meet again, sir. Travel ban. Has California gone full mouse at this point? Oof. Flubberblam. LGBTs don't have special rights. They have the same rights as everyone else. I don't have the right to get needless elective surgery paid for by taxpayers who don't want me to have the surgery. No one has a clue what an actual right is anymore. They just think saying the word automatically gets you shit. I don't even know how doctors are permitted to do the surgery. They can't just cut off my arm because I have some weird mental disease where I don't like my arm. Why should they be ethically be permitted to mutilate genitals for no medical reason? You're getting a like, sir. Phil McCracken has been busy on Dissenter. This is literally the start of them becoming their own country. This is going to be one badass generation to have lived through. People going to be making videos or whatever, like 1,000 years from now, we'll talk about this shit. Oh God. Maybe that's why so many of them show up at rallies. Their lives are so uninteresting, they want to make sure that they are the ultimate social media whores and have their image in some future Time magazine. Humans were doomed from the get-go. Maybe if we behaved more like roaches, maybe we could learn to cooperate for the good of the country. All we gotta do is dodge the can of Raid and breathe like jackrabbits. That was dark. Next. Hugh Joss. Well, if California hates them, I'm gonna have to rethink May vacation plans and put Iowa on my stops. Revan 7. The San Andreas fault going off might actually become one of the best things to have ever happened to this country. Merendell. I think it's high time we had a serious national debate about Calexit. They want to go. I say let them and extend the wall around the state. It's too late to save them from the insanity. Quarantine is the only recourse. Ken H. So Iowa is still semi-sane. Good for them for not paying for people's delusion reinforcement surgery. And Robert Dollier. Let them posture. They ridicule themselves with their every action better than we ever could if we devoted every waking minute to every day to their humiliation. Too true. Too true. And now we go to YouTube and Steven Crowder.
We shouldn't ban people from eating burgers or make them ungodly expensive. You're living in a world of what if with climate change. Well, you're anti-science. Hold on a second. Do you believe that if someone is born a man but he cuts off his cock that he's a woman? Now it's just hate speech. What happened to science? Question of the day. We've had proposals
tough to get into.
from Democrats and Republicans as it relates to government regulation of your everyday life. It ranges from banning vaping to no more red meat. This is what we're going to talk about today. What's the most ridiculous proposed regulation that you've heard of in the past few weeks? And do you think that right now Republicans, Democrats are two sides of the same coin? I think we're kind of there. But let's move on to the topic at hand.
Yes.
Lest you need a new reason to disdain veganism. In CNN, there's a recent, did you see the climate town hall?
Yeah.
By the way, they're doing an LGBTQ town hall.
What?
For LGBT issues.
Oh.
That'll be fun.
Like what? You're already competing in
issues?
women's mixed martial arts. Number 1 and 2 track and field stars are men competing in
Powerlifting?
women's sports. Like what else do you can take a dump anywhere you want practically. And you don't even have to go into a restroom anymore. No one's going to say anything.
You're privileged.
What more? You get marriage is way down the list because that's what issues? All right. Anyway, so we have to go back. Climate town hall.
Yeah.
The debates, of course, which we covered for people who missed the stream. Democrats have been presenting a laundry list of things they want to stop Americans from doing to save the environment. And among these is eating meat. And it's not just the DNC, by the way. You've been hearing this for a long time.
You know, the UN just released a study that said we're going to be okay if the vast majority of the world goes vegetarian immediately.
From using a straw to eating
Guess
a burger,
we're all
am
gonna
I part of
die.
the problem? In a certain way, yes. Are we
Kidding me.
prepared to deal with the health
and environmental consequences of maintaining current levels of red meat and dairy product consumption.
Some of it is with light bulbs, some of it is on straws, some of it, is on cheeseburgers, right?
It's also polluting. It's the number one contributor to pollution.
One day a week. One day without eating animal products
and you can look like me.
Can have a huge impact in helping maintain that delicate balance. Join us.
Join us.
Join us.
And go meat-free on Mondays.
Who are those other two broads in there? It's like they put in the line supervisor.
I recognize one of them.
Do you?
I can't.
That's it, guys. I'm eating double meat on Monday. Join me.
Can't pick her out.
We need someone to fill this out because it's a little too white male-y, even though it's the single highest grossing musician of all time with Paul McCartney.
Women.
Take the second AD, just toss her in there.
I think she was in Good Wife.
Do I need any makeup? No, you're good. You're next to Paul McCartney. No one's going to notice. So obviously the main point here is they're all hypocrites.
He's still alive?
But that doesn't make an argument. So hold your nose. Here comes the cold water. Veganism, this is something you don't hear a lot, is potentially much worse for the planet.
No.
Let me cycle through this. Reason one, sustainability. A lot of people, I talked about this with Lee R. Keith a long time ago. Topsoil erosion.
Yeah.
So, do we say omnivorous? Is that
omnivorous? Yes.
Omnivorous, yeah,
Yes.
omnivorous. Omnivorous farming is actually a lot more sustainable than the vegan model. So globally, we have. I want to make sure I get this right. 25 to 40 billion tons of topsoil are lost every year to erosion, mainly due to plowing, intense cropping.
Yeah.
In the UK, the topsoil depletion is so bad that the farmers think they may actually never be able to harvest that land at all again.
Wow.
Yep. And how do you combat this? This is something a lot of people, you won't hear it from Paul McCartney in AD number 1 and 2. One of them was a photographer, really was an Instagram model.
Had to be.
I like her butt.
We need her in the
We're going to show I like her butt when she does the twerk. So the way to combat this, the topsoil, is just letting the land, just letting it return to being grazed pasture for a period, and that results in complete halting of the erosion, and it rebuilds the soil. Basically, what you need to do is leave it for the animals, and then we eat those animals.
I think that's a very good system. By the way, why are they just now learning of what we learned in the Dust Bowl era?
Like 100 years ago.
Like, we figured this out a heck of a long time ago. Why is this coming back up?
Yeah.
Do people not read? They don't. They
absolutely don't. You answer I just wanted to remain silent so you could answer your own question there. And there have been quite a few studies that show vegan diets are less sustainable, by the way, than omnivorous diets in the long term. Here's a collage for you. And before we move on to other reasons, hit the notification bell. Join up at Mug Club, ladderwithcrowder.com/mugclub. If you have not already, you get access to the full daily show, which you're not seeing here on YouTube because we just can't, because it'll mostly get banned. So another reason that veganism might be worse for the environment, people don't think about this. It's often overlooked. The importation of foods. Yeah. Here's what people don't realize. Vegans are not advocating an apples only if you live in the Northeast diet, while Floridians and Californians enjoy the cornucopia of a year-round growing season. Keep this in mind, too. When we talk about if your great-grandmother didn't eat it, you should. Well, your great-grandmother was lucky to get an orange in her stocking. And if your great-great-grandfather was a dick, he would give your great-grandmother coal in her stocking just because he wanted to discipline her and give her the fear of God and ruin the magic of Santa. So the point is, they didn't get to eat a varied diet.
No, not at all.
Does everyone understand where I'm going with this?
Yes.
The point is they want a varied diet, and it requires a lot of food like quinoa, avocados. They be imported, often from countries that don't have the same regulations or sustainable farming practices that you have in Grand Rapids, Michigan. It's similar to when they talk about we want to shut down fracking, we want to shut down this pipe, we want to stop us from having access to our own oil reserves in Alaska. Okay, I understand that you don't like using energy, right? You don't like oil, just like you don't like eating animals. That being said, people in the world are eating animals. So you're going to have to decide how they kill those animals. That being said, people in the world are growing vegetables. You don't have control over how they grow them in Mexico. When we talk about oil, you don't have control over what they do in Saudi Arabia or in these places in the Middle East that I think sometimes I feel like we should just make look like Kel-El's bachelor pad.
Nice. Well, look, and they kind of take your rights in the process.
To just say, where we do fracking here, we have an EPA. It's like, no, let's just not do that. Well, we're still driving cars, and so we're dependent on oil from other places.
Yeah, it ends up being just as bad, but they're taking your your right to choose in the process, right? Your right to choose kind of what products and services that you want to be able to use, right? And by mandating, you have to do something like this. No, it's better for the economy, and I think we're going to get to a point.
By the way, go ahead.
I was going to say, one of the interesting things is so what we're saying is that there's a moral imperative to no longer eat fish. There's a moral imperative to not eat meat because of the harm it causes to the environment and to the animals themselves. But we're not ever going to consider the millions of animals that are killed when there's widespread crop planting. I mean, there's like when you kill these fields, you'd have to destroy
natural habitats.
Natural habitats. Quail, deer,
you
other
just cut
animals.
off my number one reason, but we will get to that. I have stats to undergird it. It's actually worse than you're thinking.
Undergird it. Do it.
But by the way, we're talking about this. It's so bad now that countries like Mexico, Kenya, they've completely depleted their supply of certain foods. And this is exactly why we need to build a wall. Okay? I don't... Stop.
It's the avocados.
I cannot...
No. We need the avocados, please.
By the way, that was just Tom Selleck. Did you know that Tom Selleck was stealing water in California when they weren't allowed to use... Yeah, he was stealing water for his avocado farm.
No.
He has an avocado farm, and he hates avocados. How badass is he? He just saw a market opportunity, even though Magnum PI doesn't like the taste. All right. Smoke that, Rosie O'Donnell. So let me ask you, what do you think is better for the environment? Eating venison from a deer you bagged yourself, or eating meat from your local yak farm, for all I know? Or fixing yourself $20 toast with avocados that were grown in Mexican tap water and tossed into trucks to travel 2,500 miles?
Yeah. That's not even a question at that point. Come on.
Well, it is a question for some folks. That's why I asked
They're idiots.
And I answered it myself. They're not idiots. Don't insult
yes,
our audience.
Yes, they are.
Stop it. He's on drugs and I've had enough of it.
That's
Reason
rude.
number 3. Carbon emissions. A lot of people don't consider that farming land for crops releases more carbon from their soil than the land left for grazing. Anyway, it's just another example of climate change not considering the reality of the alternatives that they suggest.
Absolutely, and every single time they do it with taxes, the economy, with socialism, and why this shouldn't be any different then. They just don't think about it at all.
We talked about this last week, the cotton bags, organic cotton bags.
Yeah.
You'd have to use that cotton bag 20,000 times to break even
Good luck.
with a plastic bag environment. That means that if you went grocery shopping... For over about 380 years, we did the math. So another reason,
that's
number
reasonable.
4, this is something you were just talking about. The animals actually killed to protect and to create these crop yields.
Yeah, it's a thing.
A lot of vegans may not realize this. Do you know how it's 20, especially certain grains like wheat, I don't know if it's corn, I think we have a source, results in 25 times more sentient animals being killed per kilogram of usable protein. There's more environmental damage. There's more animal cruelty than farming red meat. And I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, well, you're talking about grains. We could solve that problem if we go vegan and gluten grain free. Yeah, but that's just too gay.
No.
That's a bridge that I'm not willing to cross.
Unsustainable.
I really thought when you said we could solve this problem, you were just going to kill the vegans. I thought that I was.
Well, there are some people who are experimenting with cannibalism.
Is that too far?
Yeah.
That's an option.
Well, I think there's a natural progression there, right? If you're not willing to eat animals, you're willing to eat things that you consider less than the animals, which apparently humans are less important.
Okay.
I don't know. I feel like we're putting words in their mouth at this point. I don't want to do the Young Turks thing where they're like, I want to be cannibals. I'm thinking I'd much rather eat a person.
That's probably not true.
I think you like kale and hydroponics, and you're a dick.
Okay, fine.
In Australia, by the way, billions of animals deliberately killed every year.
Yeah.
Deliberately. This is just to protect fruit and vegetable crops for human consumption. A lot of people don't understand. A lot of people don't even think about this. This is verifiable.
Yeah.
And I get it that you're saying, well, they're not as cute as a cow and they're small because, screw the city mouse who went out to the country. He was an adept.
Oh,
oh my gosh. In Napa Valley, they actually have laws that say you can't kill animals that are trying to eat your grapes. And by the way, these are not like Concord grapes, like table grapes. They're very expensive when you do the math.
Yeah, it's like the ground owl setting up shop in your backyard in Florida. Next thing you know, you have some yellow hazard tape, and you can't put in your above-ground pool.
You're done.
You've got to change the pool shape to a little kidney bean-shaped pool so you have room cut out for the ground owl, which is a bird with the gift of flight that lives in the dirt. Please, let's have a ground owl cookout.
What would we be missing without them? I don't understand.
And none of this is to say that we can't be smarter in our approach or the compromises. And, I don't know. I've seen these commercials for insect protein on podcasts. I don't know exactly. I don't know how but
is this Joe Rogan?
You know what? Okay, here's a good, like goats use far less land than cattle. Okay. So that's something that's just kind of a cultural deal. We don't use goats as much. Okay. There are little solutions like this. Yeah. I do think, though, this is important to note. When you look at the town hall, and how long was it? 7 hours, the climate change town hall, and you look how often they're talking about it. It's that this neo-environmentalism and veganism. It's not that it's pro-animal. We all love animals. It's anti-human.
Yeah.
And by the way, these are the same people. A lot of people don't understand this. These are the same people who lobbied and created the trans fat epidemic in this country. So, for example, McDonald's, they used to use tallow for fries. After lobbying from vegetarians to the USDA, they switched to hydrogenated vegetable oils because it was healthier. Right? A lot of people don't. It started off with the agenda, though, that they wanted to get more Americans on a vegetarian diet. The same thing for the vilification of eggs, dietary cholesterol, saturated fat. A lot of people want to act like it was just General Mills, right? It was their fault, or it was the Kellogg's. But the reason a lot of misinformation regarding dietary cholesterol and the saturated fat was because of the vegetarian lobby. And their agenda above truth and they're doing the same thing now, is instead of... What really bothers me is when they say that Republicans are anti-science because we say, hold on a second, wait a second, we shouldn't ban people from eating burgers or make them ungodly expensive because of something you believe. You're living in a world of what if with climate change. Well, you're anti-science. Hold on a second. Do you believe that if someone is born a man but he cuts off his cock that he's a woman? Now it's just hate speech. What happened to science? Why are we murky in the rule book? What happened to science when we're talking about carbon emissions here? Right now, instead of claiming that their dogmatic diet is better for you, which is what we saw with vegetarians in the 60s and 70s, they are now playing the same misleading angle on the American public by trying to convince them to take this diet up, not because it's better for you, but because it's better for the planet. Well, guess what? We found out that it wasn't necessarily better for you, and we now know that it is very less likely worse for the planet. Hey, if you like this video...
All right, there was that. Let's see what the Dissenters had to say. All right. Phil McCracken says, if they take burgers away, that will be the final paper fucking straw. I will take every ounce of soy and dump that shit into the harbor like our forefathers did tea. If I can't have a bloody piece of meat with a little moo left in it, they won't have soy lattes. Well played, sir. Well played. Al Berry says, so what about the bison herds or new herds that are so big they can be seen from orbit? Does this mean we can go on safari in Bagamal? Or do new not fart? Interesting. Wait, hang on. Al Berry says, wait a minute. Again, this is another comment from Al Berry. He says, wait a minute. 835. Quote-unquote, sentient animals. What the fuck? Since when did animals become self-aware, write poems, sing songs, pray? Hell, at this point, for the argument, I'd settle for an animal that didn't lick its butt. Amazing. Alright, Bervolmer says you can't tell roadkill for brains, AOC, that she probably had alphabet bean soup and blew the grass roof off her Mexican hacienda. Oh, good. Good heavens. Real Donald Trump rule over the free world. It's not real, guys. Says, fuck vegan faggot dopes. Most are fags. Yep. Alright, Chubby Fox, 3 hours ago, says, I'm not here to argue one way or the other over the environment, but I'm against the initiation of force against sentient beings. Oh, good God. If an animal comes up to eat your grapes, feel free to do something about it. Just the same way you should feel free to do something about a burglar you find inside your home. But if you see someone walking down the street, you don't have the right to take out your gun and shoot them. That would be you initiating use of force against them. The same should apply to every sentient being. Dislike. Alright, and for our last article of the day, we have London's con calls for cancelling Brexit, Labour to back Remain. This is not news, but let's see what old Sadiq is up to now. London's left-wing Mayor Sadiq Khan says Labour Party should back revoking Article 50, cancelling Brexit. We are a Remain party, Mr. Khan said on BBC's Andrew Marr show, claiming that once Article 50 is revoked, it could be a quote-unquote reserved at a later date when negotiations with the EU are over, except the EU has no intention of negotiating, you fucking dumbass chink. I mean Asian, Muslim man. After the British people are forced to vote again in a referendum on the proposed deal, while remaining in the EU as an option on the ballot paper. Yeah, you already had this referendum. You didn't vote for deal versus no deal, or you are not a Remain country. Your country voted to leave. Reiterating Labour's position, Mr. Khan said, quote, I am quite clear we are a Remain party. We should give the British public a final say. Now that we know the terms of exiting from the EU, Yeah, there are no terms. That that should be one of the options on the ballot paper, with the other option of staying in the EU. You already had this election, motherfucker. You already had this referendum. The remarks represent a departure from the official Labour Party policy, which is to back a second referendum and campaigning for Remain, but not revoking Article 50. Ooh, you're in trouble, Sadiq. The Labour politician, who has presided over a rise in crime in London since becoming mayor, continued that, quote, "In my view, the best option is to remain in the EU. As a party, we should campaign for Remain once Article 50 is revoked." Oh my goodness. Comments came after Tom Watson called on Labour to be unambiguously and unrevocably backing Remain in a second referendum, further distancing the party from its 2017 manifesto pledge to respect the result of the first and authoritative referendum, the decision of which has still not yet been delivered. Yeah, they're completely, they're not living up to that expectation. They're not going to take no for an answer, although the people have voted and said no repeatedly. They voted in the Tories. In the event of a snap election, if the Tories fail to agree to an alliance of the Brexit right with the Brexit Party, the Lib Dems may again become the kingmakers, as they did in 2010 with their Tory Lib Dem coalition, offering support to Labour in exchange for a harder anti-Brexit line. It would not be the first time that Labour has changed its position on Brexit, having pledged to respect the decision of the vote before announcing its support for a second referendum and backing Remain in July. Let's go to the comments. Drew Kirk. He's just the mayor and the biggest fail in the history of London mayors. He should be sweeping up peanut shells in a pub somewhere, but the retarded Brits made him their mayor. Oof. Of course this little shit stain wants to defy the will of the British people. Fuck him. Captain Obvious says, although he's only 5 feet, that's still quite impressive. Who knew you could stack dog shit up that high? Nice. He's always backed Remain and called for cancelling Brexit. The citizens need to relocate to London and cancel him the next election. If only, Quintus. If only. Just Me says, of course he doesn't want Brexit. He wants a Muslim nation. Whew. Winston Smith, Khan sides with socialism. Yes, he does. Daharo says, the shit-skinned Muslim filth isn't even British. I detect no lies. The real Donald Trump, ruler of the free world, says, I call for Khan to be beheaded. Fuck Muslims everywhere. Christian jihad against Islam now. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is our Dissenter news for September 16th, 2019. Thanks for joining us. Alright guys, real quick, if you guys like the channel, feel free to please leave a donation so we can keep the channel going. All donations go to support the channel, more equipment, better content. But if you don't want to just leave a donation, feel free to jump by Carnal's Menagerie. We sell basically t-shirts. If you have any kind of carnalism that you want to see on a t-shirt, please go ahead and leave it in the comments and I will get that uploaded for you. But guys, this is how you support the channel. Anyways, thank you guys as always, and just remember, stay carnal. Bye guys.